Hello, good morning. Welcome everyone to this FoodRx workshop. I'm hearing feedback. What is going on? Oh boy, that's going to be distracting. I'm going to keep going and hope I can just ignore it. Here's what I'll do. I'm just going to turn my volume down. Okay, back to it. I apologize for that. I tell you what, I love technology, but boy, do I struggle sometimes. And this YouTube live thing just continues to escape me. I keep trying to work all the bugs out, but we all have our demons, don't we? Anyway, back to it. This is the FoodRx workshop, Eating to Crush Cancer, how food influences inflammation, immunity, and our long-term health. My name is Pam Sano. I'm a certified nutrition coach and the founder of Fit at 55, where we prioritize holistic health and wellness for women over 50. I'm also your host for today's workshop and all of these FoodRx workshops. I am really, really happy that you've joined me because today we're going to talk about something that unfortunately touches almost every one of us in some way, and that is cancer. Whether it's a family member, a friend, or maybe even yourself. So it's an important topic. We don't really like to talk about it, but we really need to. But before we get into the workshop, I want to share with you just a little bit about me. Um, I struggled with weight almost all of my adult life. Went from anywhere from a little bit chubby to borderline obese. In 2018, I finally lost some weight, but I still wasn't healthy because all I cared about was the almighty calorie. So daily sodium intake of 3,500 milligrams. Okay. Added sugars, 30% of my entire meal. Yeah. As long as my daily calories were under 1,200, all I cared about. Whether I lost weight, that's all I cared about. Did not track nutrients at all. I didn't become passionate about or even mildly interested in nutrition as medicine until just a couple of years ago, after someone very close to me was diagnosed with cancer. And throughout all of the ensuing medical appointments, several different physicians, how many of them do you suppose asked about her diet and her nutrition? So what she ate, when she ate, how much she ate. Any guesses? And I was pretty appalled and pretty upset by that. So I started doing some research. One of the first things that I found was that medical schools spend very few hours on nutrition education. Now, to be fair, as you may know, there's been a recent push. So now 53 of the 205 fully accredited U.S. medical schools have recently committed to expanding their nutrition curriculum to include at least 40 hours throughout their programs. So that's a great start, but that's still only 25% of all medical schools. So the other 75% will continue to focus an average of 1.2 hours total on nutrition education. That is unacceptable to me. And that's what this workshop series is all about, the concept of treating our food as medicine. And in each section, we focus on a different aspect of how nutrition impacts our health and our overall well-being, both positively and negatively. Now, a couple things I want to clarify. I am not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. I am, however, a certified nutrition coach, and I am wildly passionate about the concept of nutrition as medicine. Now, you might think, boy, that's really not a thing to geek out about, but I haven't always been that way. I haven't always even been mildly, moderately, whatever, passionate about nutrition as medicine. In fact, back a couple short years ago, if you had said to me, hey, you know what? Nutrition is medicine, I would have looked at you and said, huh? So that was all the first of all. The second of all is this workshop and all the workshops that I do on FoodRx, it's not about claiming that how and what we eat cures cancer or even 100% prevents it or any other disease for that matter. All these workshops are about is understanding the concepts that nutrition can either it impacts our health, either positively or negatively. So, in order to fully understand this, I'm gonna have to get a little bit sciencey for a second. No, 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 come back, come back. I promise it'll be quick and painless. So, not so fun fact. It might surprise you to learn that we are all, 100% of us, forming microscopic cancers in our bodies at all times. The reason we know this is that many, many, many studies of autopsies from a wide range of people, all races, all ages, you name it, they show that about 40% of women between the ages of 40 and 50 have microscopic cancers in their breasts. Not tumors, just small cancer cells. About 50% of men in their 50s and 60s have microscopic prostate cancers. And virtually 100% of us, by the time we reach our 70s, will have microscopic cancers growing in our thyroid. Yikes, right? Now, these cancer cells may form into full blown cancer tumors and diagnoses, or they may never progress to that stage. And one of the main deciding factors appears to be whether or not they're able to develop their own blood supply. The process that our bodies use to grow and maintain blood vessels is called angiogenesis. And I'll explain that a little bit more toward the end of the workshop, but real quickly, a healthy angiogenesis system will regulate when and where blood vessels should grow, and they can prevent tumors from recruiting their own private blood supplies for the oxygen that they need to expand. So, when the ability to create and control blood vessels properly goes haywire, a whole host of diseases can occur, including cancer. So, entire books and TED Talks, you name it, have been written about this subject. So, obviously, we're only going to scratch the surface here today. You're not going to get a master's degree in nutrition. So, then why include a topic like angiogenesis in a nutrition as medicine workshop, you ask? I think that a basic understanding of this concept will help connect the dots between food and cancer biology. And once you understand that tumors need that blood supply to grow, it really makes a lot of sense why researchers are studying foods that seem to help support healthy angiogenesis balance. So, that said, my main goal here today is to arm you with some good information on what research has shown so far to be the foods that seem to help prevent, stop, and even in some cases, reverse cancer growth, and to show you how these foods are able to help. So, I want you to come away from this workshop with a strong, clear understanding of the foods that will help you crush those cancer cells and thwart their attempts to grow. So, in short, what this workshop is about is understanding how food influences the environment inside our body, because cancer as a disease does not appear overnight. It develops in an environment, and we do not want to make our body a conducive environment for cancer. The good news is that many of the systems that are involved in our long term health are influenced every single day by the choices we make, especially by what we choose to eat. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about inflammation. We'll talk about blood sugar, immune function, antioxidants, gut health, angiogenesis, and how nutrition can help support all the body's natural defense systems. So, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, this sounds like a lot. We're going to be here till Tuesday. I promise you, it is not going to be a full doctoral dissertation. You do not need a complicated science degree. I'm just going to give you enough information that you can understand the what and the why. So, my focus is going to be on the foods that we should focus on incorporating into our daily diets and the foods that maybe we should minimize or even reduce. So, most importantly, I want this to feel practical. Because as soon as we get into all these, can't have this, don't do that, what happens? It's not sustainable for us, so we quit. We might stick with it for a short period. We might see some, positive changes. We might have some success, but it needs to be sustainable long term. So again, This is simply information that you will actually be able to use and easily incorporate into your life. Sound good? Okay, stop talking. Let's keep going. First of all, what is cancer? Let's take a step back and simplify what cancer actually is. So, your body is constantly making new cells that participate in the process called regeneration. A specific type of cell called a stem cell helps to regenerate most of our organs as we age. So, for example, fun fact, your small intestine regenerates every 2 to 4 days. True story. Your skin every 2 weeks, your red blood cells about every 4 months, and so on and so forth. So, normally, these cells follow their instructions. They do the job they're supposed to do. They grow, they are recruited to areas of the body where they're needed to repair or heal. And then after that work is done, they either assimilate themselves to that area of the body where they were recruited to, or they die off when they're supposed to. Cancer cells do not follow the rules. They try to recruit their own blood vessels to feed them, and if they're successful at that, they're able to continue to multiply instead of shutting down. So my voice doesn't like it when I talk too long, so I'll have to sip water every once in a while. So think of it as the healthy cells as the good employees to run the company line. Cancer cells are like those irritating employees who ignore the instructions or are always creating chaos in the office. We all had a coworker like that, am I right? So our bodies actually have built-in defense systems that are designed to search and destroy those damaged cells, so those cancer cells, and are usually able to prevent them from growing. So those defense systems include our immune system, our antioxidant systems, repair mechanisms, and detoxification pathways. But over time and as we age, chronic stresses on our bodies can start to break those systems down and render them less effective. And this is where lifestyle factors and our choices really start to matter. And when I say chronic stresses, I'm not talking about just, "Oh my gosh, my job's in jeopardy. How am I gonna pay the mortgage?" I mean, that's certainly stress, but chronic stresses also include lifestyle choices like smoking, a sedentary or inactive lifestyle, chronic inflammation, poor sleep, excessive alcohol intake, and, of course, nutrition. So, obviously, we all know that we shouldn't smoke or drink excessively. We all know we should exercise. We all know we should get good quality sleep. We all know that we should eat right. That last one, though, it's not always easy because A, not everyone knows what foods are healthy and and B, even if we do know what foods are healthy, we may not have access to them, or C, we may simply not want to eat them. So, why in the world would we not want to eat healthy foods that we know nourish our bodies and keep us healthy? Well, my friend, it is because food manufacturers know how to engineer processed, packaged foods and fast foods to make them so tasty and so addictive that you'll keep on coming back for more. Well, as far as knowing what foods are healthy, obviously, I'm not talking about Big Macs and Whoppers and French fries. I think we can all agree, probably most of us know that those aren't the healthiest choices. I'm talking more about the choices, our everyday choices, the things you have in your cabinet right now probably, like the fat-free dressing or the barbecue sauce. So, I'm gonna share my screen. I want to show you I'm gonna show you first a label of a barbecue sauce. If you were at my workshop last month, you'll probably remember this. We talked about Sweet Baby Ray's, not to pick on them. Probably most barbecue sauces have similar, nutrient contents, but you'll see here, hopefully you're able to see this. The added sugar content right here, 32%. That's a lot for 2 tablespoons of basically a condiment. That's not even your main meal, right? You've got 17 grams of added sugars. So, yeah, that's a lot. 290 milligrams of sodium. That's not great, again, especially considering it's 2 tablespoons. That's not a lot of, what you're gonna eat today. So there's that one. The other one I want to show you is this, uh, salad dressing. So first we have the fully loaded. This is Ken's, and again, I'm not trying to pick on one particular brand, but again, the serving size is 2 tablespoons, which is not a lot if you're a salad eater. 14 grams of fat, that's not great. 180 milligrams of sodium, not terrible, but not great. Added sugar is 1%. So, overall, that part isn't terrible. Now, if you look at the ingredients, I can't even pronounce some of these, so I'm probably not gonna wanna put it in my body. Now let's look at the fat-free version. So fully loaded, 130 calories, the fat-free is 35. Same serving size, but the fat grams, obviously 0, it's fat-free. Look what you're giving up. Now you've got 410 milligrams of sodium, you've got more added sugars, and you've also got some added ingredients that they use to thicken. Because once you remove the fat, you gotta put something in to make it taste good, right? Or taste good, or I don't think it tastes good at all. Now, obviously, I am not advocating that you eat fully loaded ranch dressing either. I'm saying that there are better choices than either one of those, but my point being fat-free dressing isn't any healthier. In fact, you could argue that it's less healthy than the fully loaded. Sidebar, I would go with a balsamic vinaigrette, oil and vinegar, or avocado oil-based dressing. Those are far healthier than the ranches and the like. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about inflammation, briefly, or what I call the fire inside the body. Now, inflammation itself is not bad. It's actually protective. For example, when you cut your finger, inflammation is what helps you to heal. It does this by increasing the blood flow to the source of the injury. It sends immune cells to the area to help fight germs, to help prevent infection, clean up damaged tissue, and ultimately help your skin heal. The problem is chronic inflammation, and that occurs when your body stays in a low-grade inflammatory state for a long period of time. Unfortunately, our modern lifestyle, a lot of aspects of our lifestyle contribute to this. So I'm talking ultra-processed foods, excess sugars, chronic stress, poor sleep, inactivity, smoking, and excessive alcohol. So these can contribute, and then if you've got a lot of these going on, you've got you've got a lot of potential to lead to chronic inflammation. So think of chronic inflammation as like a fire that never completely goes out. And over time, that constant irritation contributes to damage inside the body. And this is where nutrition can step in and become very powerful because there are some foods that either increase inflammation or help calm it down. The reason we're talking about chronic inflammation here is because that eventually inflammation can create a cancer-friendly environment. And remember, we want to make a cancer-unfriendly environment. So all those environmental and lifestyle conditions that I talked about, processed foods, the smoke, the stress, etc., they cause an excess of what's called free radicals in our bodies. And if we don't have enough antioxidants from our food to counteract those free radicals, the balance shifts too far to the free radical side. That causes an imbalance called oxidative stress. And if that goes unchecked long term, it starts to cause cell and tissue damage and can ultimately lead to diseases like cancer. Now, we do need free radicals for many of our body's functions, but we need to balance them with antioxidants. So, where do I get antioxidants from, you ask? Glad you asked. The best sources are, and I've got a cheat sheet with all of these that I'm going to mention, plus more. I'm going to link it in the comments. You don't have to mad scramble, write all these down. Berries and fruits. So blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, cranberries, goji berries, red grapes, peaches, pears, guavas, oranges, basically fruits. Okay. The darker the color, the better. Um, Vegetables, kale, spinach, broccoli, collard greens, artichokes, cabbage, asparagus, radishes, sweet potatoes. Spices and herbs like cinnamon, oregano, turmeric, cumin, parsley, basil, curry powder, ginger, garlic, and thyme. Nuts and seeds are powerful antioxidants, walnuts, pecans, almonds, sunflower seeds, and flaxseed. Omega-3s like what you find in salmon, sardines, walnuts and flaxseed, and chia seeds. Beverages, like your green tea, even coffee, black tea, red wine in moderation. This is not your license to go and binge on red wine tonight. And other foods like dark chocolate, you're welcome. Cocoa and legumes like beans and lentils, which also have lots of fiber. So again, I know I went through that really quickly, but there's with all those and more available to you once the workshop is done. So, fun fact, without getting too sciencey, antioxidants, the way that they um, help to balance and kind of neutralize the free radicals is they donate one of their own electrons to a free radical, and that's how it gets neutralized. So when it does this, it's breaking that chain reaction of damage that free radical can potentially do to our cells and DNA, just in case you're wondering. All right, let's move on. We're about halfway through. Hopefully you're still with me. Let's talk about blood sugar, insulin, and cancer risk associated. I feel like one of the biggest things we don't talk about enough is blood sugar stability. Every time we eat, our blood sugar rises. That's completely normal, completely natural. When we eat those highly processed carbs and foods with tons of added sugars, we're creating repeated blood sugar spikes. So that means increased repeated insulin spikes. And chronically elevated insulin levels can contribute to inflammation and metabolic dysfunction over time, basically meaning it'll screw up your metabolism over time. So that's why one reason fiber is so important. Fiber slows down the digestive process. It helps stabilize your blood sugar. It supports your gut health. And it also helps us feel fuller longer. So you're, not eating like a carb-loaded, sugar-loaded breakfast, and then 2 hours later, you're starving again. So protein and healthy fats also help reduce those dramatic spikes and crashes. This is why I teach what I call the FoodRx anchors, which are protein, fiber, and healthy fat. Each meal should include those 3 anchors because these 3 nutrients work together like think of the legs of a tripod. If one of your tripod legs is missing, what happens? Oh, if you're missing one of those anchors in your meal, it's less satisfying, less stabilizing, and most importantly, it's far less supportive to your body. So why is this? Because meals that are built around anchors will help steady your blood sugar. It it gives you better and more sustained energy, improved focus, healthier hormone balance, reduces your cravings, and again, it gives you lasting fullness. So in other words, they help work with you instead of against you. Protein is the first anchor because it helps preserve muscle mass, which becomes increasingly important after 50 because our muscles naturally begin to deteriorate as we age. So protein helps us preserve that muscle mass. It also helps to regulate our appetite hormones. So, and then it supports metabolism, stabilizes your energy, and again, keeps you satisfied for longer. So without enough protein, we'll find ourselves getting hungry again an hour after we eat. So what do? We reach for that quick, energy boost, the sugar, the quick carbs, just so we can keep going. We should aim for about 25 to 30 or so grams of protein per meal. maybe slightly more depending on activity level, and most of us are falling significantly short of this. I'll bet most of us are probably getting that, maybe a little bit more per day. Fiber is the second anchor, and it might be one of the most overlooked tools for aging. Fiber helps to slow the absorption of sugar into the bloodstream, which helps with blood sugar balance, like we were talking about. It helps support digestive health. It feeds the beneficial gut bacteria. It helps with estrogen detoxification in the gut, and it helps to keep our cholesterol and inflammation in check. And here again, most of us are dramatically under fiber, and it's really ironic because it's really one of the simplest ways to help support our long-term health. We should aim for about 25 to 30 grams per day, so around 8 to 10 grams per meal. Um, Really good sources would be chia seeds, lentils, raspberries, avocado, oats, black bean. And what do you notice about those foods? What jumps out at me is that they are so easy to incorporate. They're so easy. Make a smoothie in the morning, throw in raspberries, throw in some chia seeds. I mean, it's just so easy. Have some oats in the morning and top it with walnuts and raspberries. Anyway, healthy fat is the third anchor, and contrary to years and years of fat diet advice, fat is not the enemy. Our brains, our hormones, our nerves, and our cells all need healthy fats to function. Healthy fats help keep our meals taste good and satisfying. They help support nutrient absorption. Um, there is, I don't know if it'll be June or July, we'll be talking about like nutrient pairings and so forth, because there is certain nutrients you can't absorb unless you. So we'll get into that later. Healthy fats also reduce blood sugar spikes, which will help prevent that crash, crave, repeat cycle. So many of us get stuck in. We should aim for 1 to 2 servings of healthy fats per meal. So that could look like maybe a quarter to a half of an avocado, 1 to 2 tablespoons of an olive oil based dressing, maybe a small handful of nuts or seeds, uh, 1 to 2 tablespoons of a nut butter, or a fatty fish like salmon several times weekly. So when you combine these three anchors in one meal, something powerful happens. The meal becomes more balanced, more nourishing, and more metabolically supportive. So instead of those energy spikes and crashes, it provides steadier fuel. So instead of leaving you constantly hungry, it helps you feel calm, satisfied, and energized. So a bowl of plain cereal in the morning might give you that quick burst of energy you need, but try adding some Greek yogurt to it, or maybe you prefer eggs for protein, and then add some berries and chia seeds for fiber, well, that's for healthy fat, and suddenly that same breakfast is a completely different experience for your body. The goal of this FoodRx concept is learning how to build meals that actively support your future health. So when you consistently anchor your meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats, you'll find that you stop chasing those quick sugar fixes, and you start creating a foundation that gives you better energy, stronger muscles, improved metabolic health, healthier hormones, long-term resistance, just health, long-term health. Um, I've also included a guide to blood sugar balance basics in the comments. That'll be there for you after the workshop. All right, now we're getting to the good part. This is the part where we're gonna start talking about the anti-cancer foods, the foods that appear to support the body's defense systems and your immune system. So we're not talking about one magical superfood or a simple pill that you can take every day and you won't develop cancer. Doesn't work that way. Wish it did. It's more about establishing consistent patterns over time. by the way, if you stay to the end, I'll give you, an anti-cancer grocery list. Make sure you stay to the end. Anyway, the first anti-cancer food group is cruciferous vegetables. This includes, um, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts. These foods contain compounds that support detoxification pathways in our body. Translation, they help your body process and remove potentially harmful compounds more efficiently and more effectively. So, get that broccoli in your diet. Number 2, berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. Fun fact, berries get their dark color from phytochemicals, specifically from a compound called anthocyanin. This is what gives, berries their pigmentation, and the darker the color of the berry, the healthier it is because that indicates, a higher level of those, higher concentration of phytochemicals. Anthocyanins are also rich in antioxidants, which are good for combating oxidative stress and inflammation. So they're good for reducing inflammation, improving our health and memory, improving blood vessel function and circulation. They help support healthy blood sugar regulation, even lower your risk of heart disease, and protect you against that cellular damage that we talked about that's linked to cancer. Number 3, leafy greens. Our moms were right when they said, "Eat your spinach." Spinach, kale, arugula, romaine, they all provide folate, vitamin B9, which is crucial for our DNA health. They help to lower the risk of heart disease and even support our mental health. Who knew? They provide antioxidants, fiber, and important microbes like vitamins A, C, K, calcium, iron, magnesium, potassium, chock full of good stuff. So load up on those ingredients. Number 4, garlic and onions. These contain compounds that help support our immune function and detoxification. And really, they're two of the easiest foods to incorporate into meals. So again, load up. Number 5, beans and lentils. These are so incredibly underrated. They give us an excellent source of fiber. They provide us with plant compounds like polyphenols, those are just more of those powerful antioxidant agents. They give us blood sugar support and gut microbiome support. And remember, your gut microbiome, which we'll get into a later FoodRx workshop, plays a huge role in immunity and inflammation. We'll get into that later. Number 6, omega-3 fats. These are the ones that are found in salmon, sardines, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds. Omega-3s are important because they help support healthy inflammatory balance in our body. Number 7, herbs and spices, especially turmeric, ginger, and cinnamon. These spices contain compounds like curcumin and gingerols that help support the body's natural defense system. Okay, next up, I wanna talk a little bit more about angiogenesis and the foods that seem to support healthy angiogenesis. So this really is really quite fascinating, and if you haven't read Dr. William Lee's book, called Eat to Beat Disease, I strongly recommend that you pick it up. He explains this concept very clearly along with many others, and I don't know, but for me, if I understand the why behind something, it's a lot easier for me to embrace it and to implement it, if I understand how it relates to my overall health. So I mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, we need a healthy angiogenesis system. Angio, by the way, meaning blood vessel, genesis for creation. So angiogenesis, creation of blood vessels. Now, normally this is a good thing. We obviously need blood vessels. They heal us when we're injured. They deliver oxygen and nutrients to all parts of our bodies. Oh, by the way, fun fact, we have, true story, about 60,000 miles of blood vessels in our bodies. That's the distance. If you were to set out today and start walking around the Earth at the equator, you'd have to go 2.5 times because the Earth's circumference is a little less than 25,000 miles. So you'd have to walk around the entire Earth 2.5 times to equal the amount of blood vessels that you have in your body. True story. Anywho, cancerous tumors need blood vessels in order to grow. So, in other words, without a blood supply, tumors can't grow, can't expand. So, the foods that appear to support healthy angiogenesis balance, and by the way, they're able to do this because they contain compounds that block those signals. So, the cancer cells are sending out signals to say, hey, I need a blood vessel. So, these foods block that signal. So, they can't, that it's cut off, they can't grow. Some of these foods are tomatoes, green tea, berries, turmeric and cinnamon, leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, kale, bok choy, soy, salmon, and sardines. And I'm sure by now you've noticed a pattern here. Many of these foods provide us with multiple benefits, and that's why they're called superfoods. One way to phrase it is some foods don't just feed you, they help feed your defense systems. Okay, moving on. Another area that researchers have been studying for a while are stem cells. And stem cells are basically your body's repair cells. If you remember earlier, I mentioned they're the ones that are recruited to help regenerate your tissues and our body's organs. They also help support healing. Now, this is important because body's repair systems function best when we create supportive conditions for them. So that means not just eating nutrient-dense foods, but also incorporating movement on a daily basis, getting good quality sleep, having a good balance of blood sugar, and stress management. All these things work together. There is no single magic bullet. Good health is built through repeated daily habits and signals. So, what does this actually look like in real life? I mean, it's really good to talk conceptually about, going out and buying bok choy and raspberries and walnuts, but I need to keep it simple and doable for you because again, as soon as we start getting into the must have, can't have, do this, don't do that, it's just not sustainable. So instead of obsessing over diets and restricting what you can't do, I like to teach focusing on building meals around what I call the FoodRx plate. Again, that plate should include protein, fiber, healthy fat, and color. Eat the rainbow. No, I don't want Skittles. I mean color. There's a link to a color your plate cheat sheet in the comments. In fact, let me share it with you real quickly. Color your plate. Where is it? There it is. Eat the rainbow, feed your cells. So red foods like tomatoes, watermelon, strawberries, cherries, red peppers. You can see the list, and you'll have it. You'll have a link to this. You can save it, print it out, whatever. But this is what I mean by eat the rainbow. Um, there will be a link to a 7-day meal inspiration guide that will give you examples of the FoodRx plate. Let me just show you that real quickly. And again, you'll have a link to it, so don't try to mad scramble, write it all down. So the 7-day meal inspiration guide is going to have 7 days of 3 meals plus a snack, and it will have the protein, the fiber, and the fat for each meal. So, for instance, day 1, breakfast, Greek yogurt, bowl, berries, and walnuts. We talked about that one. Lunch, salmon salad with olive oil vinaigrette, and so on and so forth. So take a look at that. Good stuff there. Getting back to the color your plate. Color matters because, as we mentioned, colorful foods contain those different plant compounds, like the polyphenols, the anthocyanins. That's why color matters. So the bottom line is, instead of wondering what you eliminate, I want you to start asking yourself what you can add. You can add more vegetables, more fiber, more omega-3s, basically more whole foods. So this creates a concept what I call crowding out, because the more nourishing foods that you add, the less room there is for that ultra-processed stuff. And I'm not saying there isn't room in your life for anything ultra-processed. I'm not saying don't ever eat a strip of bacon again. I'm not saying don't ever eat an Oreo again. What I'm saying is build a foundation, a consistent pattern of healthy eating, and throw one of those foods in once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything in moderation. Okay, let's do a quick activity. We're getting near the end, but I wanted to do this activity. It'll be fun. There is a link for that build your worksheet. You know, here right now we're just going to do it verbally, but this is what I'm talking about. I want you to think about a typical meal that you eat pretty regularly. Got a visual? Okay. Now let's analyze it. So looking at that typical meal in your head, where's the protein? Where's the fiber? Where's the healthy fat? And where's the color? And if you've got all of them, that is awesome. If you were missing one, now you know what. So then I want you to think about one just very simple basic upgrade that you could make this week. For example, add more veggies to your plate. Throw in some flaxseed into your smoothie or into your oatmeal. Add some avocado to your lunch salad. So again, we're not talking like a complete overhaul. We're just starting with one simple basic improvement and build on that. You do not have to be perfect. It's okay if you forget to add a healthy fat to it. What we're going for is long-term consistency because that matters way more than 100% healthy eating. So I want to wrap up by leaving you with this thought. Your body is constantly responding to the environment that you create for it. Every meal, every bite that you take, it sends signals. And some of those signals support inflammation, some support repair, some support energy, some support long-term resilience. Nutrition is never the entire story, and it also should never replace proper medical treatment or your doctor's professional advice. But it is just about the most powerful tool we have access to every single day, and it is most definitely the one we have the most control over. Making small changes matters a lot because when we repeat them consistently, that's when they become powerful over time. Thank you all so much for being here today. This has been so much fun for me. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And again, I've included links to all those documents that we talked about during the workshop. You'll find those in those comments. As soon as we're done, I'll add them so you'll have access to them. If you have any questions, any issues getting them downloaded, just reach out to me. My email is support@fit55.com. And also, shameless plug, I'm going to link my FoodRx books in the comments below as well. I do have a third FoodRx book coming out on June 1st called The 30-Day System Reset. You will not want to miss this one. It's going to be a good one. I will make it free for the first few days after it's published. So if you're interested, leave me a comment. I'll send you the link to it while it's free. If you miss it while it's free, it's not going to break you. I think it's going to be like $2.99 for the Kindle version. As promised, I have that special cheat sheet for you as a thank you for attending and staying until the end. And that is right here. So you can scan the QR code. That'll take you right to the list. Or you can just take a screenshot, or all else fails, you can just email me and I'll send it to you. Okay? So thank you again for joining me. I'm so honored you took the time out of your day to spend with me. It has truly been a joy and my pleasure. Take care. I will see you in June at the next FoodRx workshop. Bye for now.